I want everybody watching this review to do me a favor right now. I want you to bookmark this video and title it Watch Again when the Sonic the Hedgehog movie comes out. Detective Pikachu is a movie based on the video game Detective Pikachu, starring Ryan Reynolds and Justice Smith, and directed by Rob Letterman. When this was first announced, I was confused about what made the game so special that it deserved to get a movie before any other story in the series. The game itself is a cute, fun, quirky adventure game, feeling a lot like baby's first Phoenix Wright, but it did have an engaging story that could keep even older fans interested. If you have a 3DS and about 12 hours, it's a pretty good purchase. But after playing part of the game, I started to see how this was actually the perfect candidate for a movie. First off, it stars a Pikachu, solid choice there. Second, it is one of the few times in the franchise a Pokemon and a human character are able to have actual conversations with each other, which not only makes it stand out to longtime fans, but it also makes doing an adaptation easier because every conversation isn't just Pika. You're right, Pikachu. Because of the angle of the bullet that hit JFK, there's no way it could have come up from the window. There must have been a second shooter at the grassy knoll. Having a story where your two leads cannot actually understand each other would be difficult, even for Pokemon. Even the animated show and movies had Meowth to have an excuse to translate what Pokemon are saying to the audience. And I feel like the world of Pokemon is a little hard to just cram into a 2-hour movie like this. You can't just jump into a story with some 10-year-old kid getting an electric rat going around competing in animal fighting rings without it looking kind of weird to a general audience. The animated films get around this by just being a part of the world of the TV show, so it focuses on just being another episode of the show with a larger budget rather than a way to introduce people to the series itself. The goal of Detective Pikachu is not only to be a good movie to those who are heavily invested in the series already, but to try to be interesting to people who haven't even heard of Pokemon. It doesn't try to be this fantastical adventure about a kid in a world where Pokemon has changed the course of human society. It stars a goddamn insurance salesman. It isn't about being the best that no one ever was, it's a heartwarming story about a kid that regrets not spending more time with his dad. It just wants to set the stage for a live-action Pokemon world without having a story that's burdened by the weight of the entire franchise. The way it eases the audience into knowing who and what Pokemon are is excellent. Pokemon are just a part of everyday life. Almost every part of Pokemon media makes it seem like all of society is built around them. But it was a refreshing take to see the world where yes, Pokemon are important, but there are also plenty of people that just live their lives without really doing anything related to Pokemon. If the Pokemon didn't have a direct tie to the story, they were more or less little cameos taking over the roles that traditional animals would have. While this may seem like a fun way to just jam more Easter eggs into the movie, it actually ends up helping the audience accept the style the film has. Just so I can illustrate my point, let's look at the Sonic the Hedgehog trailer. I always find a way to tie every video back to Sonic. You ever wonder why this looks so natural, but this looks like an abomination of CGI? Because of all the extra Pokemon being inserted into scenes, it becomes more of an aesthetic. The Pokemon don't really look like they are in the uncanny valley because almost every shot has more Pokemon interacting with the environment or others, so that it feels more like a believable world. CGI is used to enhance an already practical scene and add Pokemon to it. On set, they are practically mimicking the Pokemon's movements so that they can be added in post-production later. That way, what's real in the scene looks real and can easily interact with the CGI Pokemon in a way that makes sense in our brains. They also keep their original design, so there is an inherent cartoony look to the entire film that they want to keep while still creating a realistic setting. This, coupled with how cool and neon-y the lighting is for a majority of the movie, absolutely sells how this movie looks, creating a realistic world where this coffee-drinking giant yellow rat can still hold a conversation with a real human, and it doesn't come off as weird or uncomfortable. In Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic doesn't feel like a part of the world around him because he has no impact on the environment. It feels like they just shot the scene and added CGI to it to make it seem like he's having an effect on the world, but it comes off as fake because they didn't integrate him enough into the actual scenes. Every shot looks like he's photoshopped in because he doesn't look like a part of the physical world around him. The lighting looks off, no one is making direct contact with him or even really looking at him, and he looks fake unless they're building a full scene around him. So look at this scene. Everything honestly looks pretty alright, even this abomination. It's because everything else in this scene is also generated with CGI, which, like in Pokemon, makes us more accepting of this character. They also didn't render his shoes out in this shot correctly, but I'll leave my criticisms for that until the actual movie comes out. The instant he's put into a practical set, he doesn't mesh with the environment at all. Like in the shot where James Marsden points his flashlight at Sonic, the artificial light they animated onto Sonic doesn't match the footage that they had on set. On Sonic, the light source stays static while the flashlight in the background continuously moves and no shadow is cast there, as if there isn't this furry abomination right there. It is why all the lighting is bland in the trailer. The more intricate you make the lighting on set, the more work you actually have to put into the modeling in order to make it actually fit into the scene, rather than it hitting the uncanny valley. But let's stop dunking on Sonic right now. The movie isn't even out yet. And while I'm on the topic of lighting, Detective Pikachu looks absolutely gorgeous. Neon lighting is a way to always make me pay attention to what's going on screen, and the use of color for many of these scenes make otherwise dull scenes tend to pop. It gives a gritty sort of look for the city. Like, not quite Blade Runner, but I definitely shouldn't be in this part of the city at night. I honestly prefer these scenes to anything that took place during the day. It gives a much more interesting visual flair to the film that the flat lighting of the day scenes just cannot deliver. The interesting visuals is also something that makes the movie stand out because the script is very basic. Most of the humans play these cutout characters that don't really get a chance to shine outside of our leads. The writing is far from the best, and for a mystery adventure film, the mystery is fairly weak. There is no chance for the audience to figure out what's going on for themselves. The film literally builds holographic recreations to spell out what's going on. Part of a good mystery is finding the clues and figuring it all out for yourself. The movie goes out of its way to spell out exactly what is going on to the audience, which is sad because the best part of the Detective Pikachu game is gathering the clues to solve the mystery yourself. But a majority of what makes the movie work out so well are the character interactions. While the running plot of the film is sort of boring and cookie cutter, the actual characters interacting is the thing that makes the film enjoyable. The script knows how to keep a delicate balance of relatable banter between characters to completely off-kilter jokes that you really wouldn't expect from a Pokemon movie. The cast is also essential on selling this movie. While I haven't really been a huge fan of Justice Smith in the past, he gave a pretty solid performance, much better than he did in Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. Ryan Reynolds does a fantastic job, but I will admit that a lot of it is because we're just watching Deadpool again. Seriously, the only thing that separates Detective Pikachu and Deadpool is an R rating. The aesthetic, the setting, the tone, all of it would work so much better if it wasn't just being pigeonholed into being a kids movie. Especially since you can tell that this movie isn't really made for kids, it's made for the disgusting animals like me who grew up with Pokemon and would be bored if it went all Dora the Explorer in tone. This Dora trailer makes this comparison weird. I know I'm not getting my R-rated Pokemon movie, and I've come to peace with that, but even a PG-13 would be a nice middle ground as they go further into this franchise. What this movie severely lacked were Pokemon battles and action scenes in general. I feel like that is part of the reason why they also wanted to do Detective Pikachu first instead of one of the main games, because of the setting of Rhyme City. Rhyme City is this really awesome place in the Pokemon universe where humans and Pokemon truly work together, but it also makes sure to say that there aren't Pokemon battles or even Pokeballs. Two of the most major parts of what makes Pokemon recognizable. While no Pokeballs means that we get to see Pokemon literally everywhere walking around, the lack of Pokemon battles kind of makes me feel like we got blue-balled when it comes to action. We get like 2 action scenes and they have exactly what I want out of a live action Pokemon battle, but they're so short that we really don't get the chance to see it at its full potential. Detective Pikachu does a hell of a lot right. It is the perfect aesthetic for a live-action Pokemon adaptation. It manages to become a movie both for fans of Pokemon and newcomers to the franchise. It focuses on being a fun film that families can enjoy first and a movie for dedicated Pokemon fans second. I think we can definitively say that Detective Pikachu is the best video game movie on the market. But while we all praise it for that, please also remember how extremely low that bar actually is. While it was a delightful time, unless somebody absolutely loves Pokemon, all you're getting is a generic kids movie. I felt that this movie was about on par with the Ratchet & Clank movie we got a while back, and you know what? I love that. We are finally getting video game movies that stay true to the spirit and vision of the video games they represent, while also being a movie that can be enjoyed by general audiences. It sort of feels like we're starting to see this renaissance of video game movies. I know a lot of you are too young to remember, but there was a time where superhero movies had the exact same stigma that video game movies had. Every superhero movie that came out used to be dead on arrival. Then Spider-Man and X-Men came out that proved that there's a way to turn these campy comic books into thrilling stories for the big screen. But even then, it wasn't really until The Dark Knight came out that people started realizing that superhero movies could be taken seriously. And right now, I think video game movies just hit their Spider-Man. I think Detective Pikachu will be the start of major studios starting to pick up some gaming properties to adapt into films, and all we can do is hope that they see the value in putting effort into a project like this so that they can set the precedent for future films. Then again, Sonic the Hedgehog comes out later this year, so all the goodwill this movie got will probably be undone. But that's gonna be another video. If you want to see my thoughts of Sonic the Hedgehog when the movie actually does come out, then please subscribe so you'll be notified when that video goes live. And if you want to see my thoughts on movies and other video games, then please click that playlist over there to just binge watch everything I've put out. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you when Sonic the Hedgehog comes out.